Greetings and hello. Really kind of funny. I wound up a couple minutes late here because I started the show and I already had said greetings to you and welcomed you, and I hadn't gone live yet. So I had to kind of redo all of that. And now we're live, and here I am. And I am Ken Ludwig. This is the New Thought Media Network, and this show is the Vibrant Living Hour, where we talk about living your absolute best life mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And hopefully do it from a position of straight shooting, no BS. I hope this day finds you enjoying an absolute abundance of joy, love, and enthusiasm doing whatever it is you're doing. I think for me, those are three things that I affirm every single day, multiple times, that I am experiencing joy, love, and enthusiasm in abundance every single place I look, everywhere I look in the world. And I think it's a great way to start the day for me, and it's a great thing to affirm that we're just going to enjoy life. Everything's going to be good. Everything's going to be fun. Everything's going to be a joyful experience. So, I last week we mentioned the scientific method. I don't know why I'm going off on this first thing here, but this is what I'm going off on. I think I did a little bit of a rant at the end of last week's show around the idea that, again, I'm sorry, I'm going to just adjust my lighting a little bit here, see if I can get rid of some of that glare in my glasses. Drives me nuts. I hope it doesn't drive you crazy. Talked a little bit about the fact that science evolves. Science doesn't lie to us. Science grows and evolves. Science learns. Science is a great meme that I just read the other day. Science is not the truth. Science is about finding truth. And it's always evolving. And the scientific method, I mentioned in the context of the fact that there's lots and lots of people out there questioning the science. And of course, the science is around the virus. Okay, let's be honest, the virus and the vaccine. Lots of people questioning all of that. And I don't want to get off on a rant that gets political or gets too crazy, but what I really want you to understand is that we are now well over a year into this thing. We're really very close to 18 months into this thing, and actually longer than that if you count when it was first appearing, like in November or maybe even October or earlier than that in 2019. So, we're well into this thing. And in the beginning, scientists, people of medicine, immunologists, infectious disease experts, they went on existing science and applied it as best they could to what from day one was called the unique coronavirus. Unique because it was different from any other SARS type virus they had seen. And let's not get too scientific with all that baloney. But as time has progressed, as we have cases and we have the experiences of people who have cases, and the long-termers, the people who are experiencing effects months and months after they have already had the virus, and we see the efficacy of the vaccinations, the different ones. They're not the same, and they have different efficacy. And as time goes on, we're seeing that they have different efficacy against the mutations, the new the Delta virus, the Delta variation. And scientists just continue to update the information. But we have random people out there who are, and my favorite is the random chiropractor. And I don't have anything against chiropractors. I love chiropractors. In fact, one of my mentors in the world is Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's a doctor of chiropractic. I have nothing against anything to do with chiropractic. But the one example is somebody that actually personally happened to me. Someone who was a chiropractor and claimed to have studied immunology or infectious diseases for 30 years, started to put out a bunch of baloney in social media. And I paused him, and I think maybe I even eventually blocked him. But I got him out of my sight because they don't allow these people who supposedly understand science, couldn't spell it if their life depended on it, but supposedly did I just say that? How judgmental of me. But anyway, they don't have the ability to follow the data, to follow the cases, to follow the scientific method. And the scientific method is something you and I learned in junior high, high school at the latest. And it's a process by which we learn and science evolves and science grows. Hi, Holly. Thanks for joining us. I have a sister-in-law. Your sister's a long hauler. I have a sister-in-law who's kind of a partial long hauler. She's actually recovering from what looked like things that were going to be long-term effects that kind of dissipated, which was a really good thing. But I want to get back to this. The scientific method. I actually looked this up just before I went on the air, so it's on my phone. I apologize, but I have, those of you who watch, I've told you a long time ago, I used to have my storyboards. I had my whiteboards up on the back side of the computer here behind the camera, and that was where I had all my stuff. Then I noticed that everybody, Letterman, Colbert, what's that crazy guy's name that I absolutely so much love? The guy from Scotland. I don't remember his name. They all have notes. So I have notes now, and part of my notes on my phone. So there are 7 steps to the scientific method. They are first and foremost, they are make an observation, then ask a question, then propose a hypothesis, make predictions, test the predictions, and iterate, which means articulate it. Oh boy, I love it when you go to get something on your phone and the phone decides you're going somewhere else, right? The objective here is obviously that you're going to see something that's going on. And when you see that thing that's going on, you're going to ask the question, okay, what is this? In a thing that was thing that was written about by Dr. Thomas Hora called Existential Metapsychiatry, he asked the question, what is the meaning of what appears to be? Because everything has a deeper meaning than what we see on the outside. Well, it's very much like the scientific method in that you make the observation and you ask a question and then you propose a hypothesis. In the scientific method, you decide, okay, so I notice we have this virus coming around. Is this virus different from other viruses? Is it more deadly? Is it more contagious? So ask the questions, and then you propose a hypothesis. And the hypothesis, to start with, and I'm being really oversimplistic here, but there's the idea. The first hypothesis is this something we can treat with existing science, or do we need a new methodology for treatment? That takes you to, down the road, you get to the vaccine thing, because you make predictions about what's going on with this. Is it more deadly? Yes, it is. Is it more contagious? Yes, it is. So we predict that we're going to need something more advanced than what we have at this point to combat this. So you make those predictions and then you test them. And the scientific method is all about testing. Testing is your experimentation. Testing is how you prove that your hypothesis and your predictions are true. And then you test them all. And when you test them, you come out with what they call, what it calls iterate, which is just you come out with your results. Now, there have been a gazillion experiments in this world where certain results were reached. And when other scientists tried to match that, didn't get the same results. If you don't get the same results, if you can't duplicate the results, then you have to go back to the drawing board. Now it's time to ask a different question, make different predictions, and test again. That's the scientific method. And that's what I was talking about last week. The only people I want questioning the science are scientists, not the random chiropractor. Not there was a woman out there who was spouting all kinds of stuff a year ago around the vaccine and just nonsense. But she was a totally disgraced scientist who had made a prediction about a certain relationship between an autoimmune disease and something else. And it was so much BS, I don't remember what it was. But she's I won't say her name because I don't want anybody to give her any kind of acknowledgement whatsoever, even by looking her up on Google. But she's a totally disgraced scientist because this whole prediction she made about this autoimmune disease turned out to be false. No one, multiple experiments afterwards, no one, wow, I should have turned that phone off, huh? No one could duplicate her results. And she blamed other people for their failure to duplicate the results rather than go back to the drawing board and try something different. So that's how you become a disgraced scientist. And that's who she is. So that's the scientific method. And it's frustrating. And I'm going to say that, and I don't want to, again, I don't want to get political. I don't want to get political, but it's important because this is life-saving information. If you look around the country right now where all the cases are spiking, and they're not spiking anywhere near where they went a year ago, but they're going in the wrong direction. They're going up. And the cases are over 90% among the unvaccinated. The hospitalizations are over 95% of the unvaccinated. And the last number I heard on people who are dying were 100% unvaccinated. Follow the science, people. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Follow the science and you'll get answers. And then I had somebody question me today, where are you getting your information? A year and a half in, there's just reams and millions and billions and pieces of information and data that have been accumulated and put together. And somewhere along the line, you have to learn to believe that people of good intention using raw data will give you good information. Somewhere along the line, you got to believe that. Now, I believe in questioning everything. But at some point, you have to put some faith in someone's knowledge when their knowledge base is greater than yours. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's something really unique today. I made myself a cup of coffee. That's one of the reasons I was 2 minutes late starting the show. But let's see if it's too hot to drink yet. Yum. I'm a coffee snob, by the way. I may buy beans, grind my own beans, make my own coffee 1 cup at a time. That's the way I like to do it. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, I mentioned last week, one of my new favorite expressions, which is it's very much applicable to me in the sense of conquering my judgments. And when I find myself in judgment, or I find myself angered, or I find myself annoyed at things, this is the thing that now is running. It's a never-ending tape in my head because I'm so judgmental to begin with. But I am precisely as big as what I love and precisely as small as what I allow to annoy me. And that was a quote from a guy named Robert Anton Wilson, who I quite honestly had never heard of. So I went and did what a good podcast host does. And I went and looked up who the heck is Robert Anton Wilson and what's he doing in the world. Robert Anton Wilson was a guy who lived from 1932 to 2007. He was an American author, a futurist, and a self-described agnostic mystic. Just roll that around in your head for a minute. An agnostic mystic. He was recognized within the religion of Discordianism as an episcopos, which is a pope or a saint. Wilson helped publicize Discordianism through his writings and interviews. He described his work as an attempt to break down conditioned associations, to look at the world in a new way, with many models recognized as models or maps, and no one model elevated to the truth. In other words, look at everything, question everything. He stated his goal as to try to get people into a state of generalized agnosticism, not agnosticism about God alone, but agnosticism about everything. And that's, agnosticism is kind of more or less uncertainty. In addition to writing several science fiction novels, Wilson also wrote nonfiction books on extrasensory perception, mental telepathy, metaphysics, paranormal experiences, conspiracy theory, sex, drugs, and what Wilson himself called quantum psychology. Following a career in journalism and as an editor, notably for Playboy, Wilson emerged as a major counterculture figure in the mid-70s, comparable to one of his co-authors, who was the one and only Dr. Timothy Leary. It's really funny. He was this counterculture hero who I absolutely never heard of. But that one sentence, that expression, I am precisely as big as the things as what I love, and precisely as small as what I allowed to annoy me. That's just, I find that to be a great expression to bring me out of that judgmentalism, out of anger. But because when I looked him up, I found this reference to Discordianism. I was like, what the hell is that? Discordianism is a religion and subsequent philosophy. It's based on the veneration or worship of Eris, Eris, who is a goddess of chaos. She is also known as Discordia. Um, she's in charge of the archetypes or ideals associated with her, which are chaos. It was founded in 1963. But it was founded. There was a publication of its holy book. Its holy book is called Principia Discordia. Was written by Greg Hill and Kerry Wendell Thornley. The two worked under the pseudonyms. I love this. Malaclips the Younger and Omar Khayyam Ravenhurst. The religion has been likened to Zen based on similarities with absurdist interpretations of the Rinzai school, as well as Taoist philosophy. Discordianism is centered on the idea that both order and disorder are illusions imposed on the universe by the human nervous system. That's the one piece of Discordianism that makes absolute sense to me. It is centered on the idea that both order and disorder are illusions imposed on the universe by the human nervous system. What we think about expands. What we believe and allow is our circumstances, is our experience. I mean, that's just, and that neither of these illusions or apparent, neither of these illusions of apparent order and disorder is any more accurate or objectively true than the other, which is also true. Truth is subjective in the small t truth sense, and our sense of order or disorder is also totally subjective. None of my sense of order or disorder is going to be objectively true. It's just subjectively what's going on in my world. And the final piece on this is there is some division as to whether it should be regarded as a parody religion, and if so, to what degree. It is difficult to estimate the number of Discordians because they are not required to hold Discordianism as their only belief system, and because there is an encouragement to form schisms and cabals. Excuse me. So what that says to me is they actually encourage within their own philosophy that you rebel against their philosophy, which is very interesting. So that was a little piece I wanted to add to that thought. I know I mentioned last week the idea that I am as big as what I love, and as I am precisely as big as what I love, and precisely as small as what I allow to annoy me. I just find it fascinating. So last week we spent some time talking about the idea of kapuna. Kapuna is the word for grandparent or elder in Hawaiian. And you know if you watch the show, I just got back from 2 weeks in Hawaii, and I was fascinated as I am with all indigenous and native cultures. And I really meant to do a little bit more research on this, but I think I'll just expand on this next week because it's such a great subject. And I think it's really, really applicable in this time in history here in the United States. And you guys that have been watching for a while know that I am a huge fan. I got my book stacked way too high over here. I am a huge fan of this book by Mark Middleton, Growing Bolder. Okay. And in this book, he talks about at great length the American idea that aging is a disease. Aging is something to be avoided. Aging is something to be avoided even to the extent of being associated with people who are aging. And in every other culture on the planet, in particular in the indigenous cultures of all countries, that's just baloney. The elders are worshipped. The elders are expected to take leadership roles in making decisions for the family and the community. And that's what kapuna is in Hawaiian, which I love. And by the way, we were on Kauai for 2 weeks. I just want to make a statement here that, and I don't know, it's my first trip to Hawaii, so I'm certainly no expert on the history of Hawaii, but the Hawaiian, the Kauaian people, if I can say that, if that's a thing, they are becoming considerably more aware of being more ecologically conscious than they have been. And that was very evident in lots and lots of different places. But there's also that indigenous mindset of treating people with kindness and compassion. That's part of that kapuna piece. But like so many other things, kapuna comes out from the basic Hawaiian, I guess it's really their philosophy of aloha. And aloha is pretty much recognized as a greeting, or actually both ways. It's a greeting and a salutation. It's, Hello, goodbye. I can remember when I used to sign all my emails with namaste. One of my brothers, Chris, he asked me, what does namaste mean? And I told him it was both a greeting and a salutation. He said, you mean it could be hello and goodbye? And I said, yes. So from that point forward, every email he sent me, he signed it, hello, goodbye, Chris. But aloha is that sense. But it is way bigger than that. And again, back to my notes here. Aloha is the Hawaiian word for love. By the way, I'm trying very hard with learning the pronunciation of Hawaiian words. It's not Hawaii, it's Hawaii. That in certain cases where there's the WAI, that is pronounced with the V sound for the W. So it's Hawaii is really the way it's pronounced. And it doesn't count when it starts as the beginning of the word, WAI. Like the most famous river and canyon in Kauai is the Waialua Canyon. That's WAI, but you pronounce it with the W because it's the beginning of the word. And this is step back here. I love this. I'm fascinated by this, and I hope somebody's listening here that loves this, because the Hawaiians use all the same vowels we do, A, E, I, O, and U, and they pronounce them very much like the Spanish do, A, E, O, U. Okay. There are only 7 consonants in the Hawaiian language. That to me just blows me away. It's HKLMNPW. That's the entirety of the Hawaiian alphabet is 12 letters. Fascinating. But back to what aloha is. It's a Hawaiian word that means love, affection, peace, compassion, and mercy. It's commonly used as a simple greeting, but also as a deeper cultural and spiritual significance to native Hawaiians, for whom the term is used to define a force that holds together existence. In other words, aloha is the entirety. Now, to me, this is huge, because the Hawaiians, there was no one on Hawaii originally. The Hawaiian Islands were populated by the Polynesians, as there were several other islands in the South Pacific. Excuse me. But and aloha exists in all the Polynesian languages. I'm sorry, but it has the same basic meanings of love, compassion, sympathy, and kindness. Although its use as the force that holds together existence from the Hawaiian language is not existent in the other Polynesian languages like Tahitian and Samoan. I love the fact that this is an expression of a force that holds together existence. That is something that we're learning. It's something that I study and try to live my life in that sense as a metaphysician. But the metaphysical world is so much bigger than just the physical world. And I think people are starting to latch on to the connections, the quantum connections, all those connections to metaphysics, where there is only one of us. There is one overarching creative intelligence of the universe, and we are all participating in it to the degree that we wish to, or to the degree that we become aware of it. And metaphysical thought, new metaphysical thought, comes out of the transcendentalists who were, Emerson, Thoreau, the Brownings, all people who lived in the late 18th century. I'm sorry, 1800s, early 1900s. Those people were the transcendentalists, based primarily out of New England, but they kind of spread across the entire planet, basically across the eastern United States to start with, and then out west. But the idea that there is only one overarching creative intelligence that holds everything together is aloha. I find that fascinating, because the Polynesians landed on the Hawaiian Islands over 1,000 years ago. And for that meaning to be in that language, that's one of the reasons why we call New Thought also ancient wisdom. Because this wisdom has existed in the traditional indigenous cultures literally everywhere, from the Aborigines of Australia to the Native American cultures. All of them had some sense of the oneness of life that somehow, some way in Western culture, we have completely freaking lost, and we have devolved into the idea of nonstop, total separation, which is, to me, that's the grand illusion. There is no separation. There can be no separation in my book, anyway, where I come from, what I'm thinking about. So the dictionary of the Hawaiian language, a fellow by the name of Lauren Andrews wrote, aloha is a word expressing different feelings of love, affection, gratitude, kindness, pity, compassion, grief, and the modern common salutation of both a meeting and a parting, which is, I find it fascinating. I find it interesting that we really, maybe the idea that most of us have around aloha, that it is a the greeting and the parting. That really is just maybe a more modern reading of the word. The word that goes along with that, of course. One other thing. Aloha is a very complex and profound sentiment, and it really is something about coming from the heart. And in 1986, the state of Hawaii introduced the Aloha Spirit Law, which mandates that state officials and judges treat the public with aloha. Pretty cool in my book. The other thing that goes along with that, a thing that I found very fascinating in Hawaii, is that everybody says mahalo when you do anything nice, buy something, whatever it is. Mahalo is basically the thank you word, although there is no actual word in Hawaiian for thank you. Mahalo it means, it's come to mean thanks, gratitude, admiration, praise, esteem, regards, or respects. Some people think that that it was kind of the idea of it being thank you was kind of appended to it, just simply because of exposure to Westerners. I also find that it's very interesting in a lot of indigenous cultures. There is no word for thank you. There are no words for some of the things that those indigenous cultures just take for granted. Thank you is really just something that is the sentiment associated with whatever the giving or the gift or anything like that was, which I just love it. I just think it's fascinating. And so yeah, we'll get deeper into the indigenous cultures. I will make it my business to go further into that, because I think it's something that all of us can bring some we can bring some heart into our lives by embracing some of those feelings from past generations, as opposed to looking at aging becoming something that is unhealthy, that is a disease, that is to be avoided. As opposed to looking at that, maybe we can look back at the aging of our culture and where the great wisdom and knowledge came from that we abandoned, or why we abandoned it, or why we let it go. There's something there for me, and maybe I'm not articulating it very well. I don't know. You can tell me if you're out there on the comments. Tell me what you think about that idea. I got to be careful with the coffee. Lisa told me, don't drip coffee on your brand new shirt. Why is that? Because I want you to see this shirt. I hope you can see this. This is my newest shirt. It just arrived beginning of the week. Had to wait till I washed it before I wore it. This is a hemp fiber shirt. Comes from the company that I represent. It is a whole new line of hemp clothing. Most of the designs are for women, but there are things there for men. And I want to tell you this. This is the men's t-shirt. This color I would never buy for myself. It's a tannish color. I don't know how well it comes across on the camera, but it really looks good and I love it. And it is the softest material I've ever put on my body in my life. And everything in the line is that way. It is made of hemp. It is made of a mixture of different fibers to make the cloth durable. It lasts longer than anything on the planet. It gets softer with every washing. It's made of organic cotton. It's made of hemp fibers woven in with other fibers, and it is made with spandex. Spandex, is that the right word? Whatever those stretchy fibers are. What's the source of that? Recycled plastic. This is the most earth-friendly, sustainable clothing you're going to find anywhere. Want to know more about that? Let me know. But Lisa said, don't spill any coffee on it. So I'm not spilling any coffee on it. We talked last week about we talked about the book that I was going to start reading, a book that I used to read every single year, and the Four Agreements. I used to read it every year. I haven't read it in many years at this point. But what we will do is, and I'm going to I'm going to make you a promise here. You can hold me accountable to this. I'm going to make sure that I read the first chapter, which is be impeccable with your word. And we'll have a conversation next week about what does that mean. And now, why is being impeccable with your word such an important concept in 2021? Why is it important to be impeccable with your word in the 21st century? You can apply whatever thoughts you have on that, but we'll save it for next week. But it's really, the idea that that lying and falsehood and misinformation and disinformation are a way of life and things that we have to deal with in our everyday goings about. That is absolute, just total BS, because the world needs to be impeccable with our word. What you speak is what you mean. A reporter, I believe, once asked Mohandas Gandhi's wife why he was so happy. And she said, because his thoughts, words, and deeds are in alignment. That's being impeccable. So we'll talk about that next week. The other thing I wanted to show you was this popped onto my radar, and I'm not sure why. I have this note written down, and I'm not sure why it's here, but it came from somebody that I trusted enough to write it down. How's that? The Science of Getting Rich, book by Wallace D. Wattles. I love his name. Wattles, Wattles, Wallace D. Wattles. It's a great book that I've read twice, but I came across whoever it was that put this down. By the way, it's a very, very easy read. It's a small book. Type is decent sized. But whoever it was that I got this information from said, read this book. Study chapters 4, 14, and 7 in that order. 4, 14, and 7. Study them for 30 days. Take that with however many grains of salt you want. But if your paradigm right now is to look for a little more abundance in your life, to have more supply, then perhaps Wallace D. Wattles would be a great read for you, along with with the seminal books, Think and Grow Rich, and the other one that I promised you I was going to start reading. I didn't start reading this one either. How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is a book I have never, ever, ever read. And it's really interesting because it's kind of a, it's one of the holy books, if you will, of being successful in the world. And I've not read it. I did open it and put a bookmark in it, but I haven't gotten around to reading it. So we'll get on that as well, and we'll see what we can do with that. Excuse me. I've got a little. My seasonal allergy stuff has gotten way better. By the way, in Hawaii, where there are on Kauai, where there are just a gazillion plants, 90% of their indigenous plants don't exist anywhere else on the earth. And it's Holly, I haven't got a doubt in my mind you've read all three of those books. Because they're kind of seminal books. They're books that are important to read and to take in. And like I said about the Four Agreements, I used to read that every single year because it was just so important to me. It's the concept of you can't dip your toe in the same river twice. You can't read the Four Agreements the same twice because it's a different book every time. Part of that is because you're a different person every time you pick it up. But in Hawaii, in Kauai, where there are all of these incredible plants, all these flowers and this beauty, and we walk through the jungle to a waterfall, and literally plants were touching you on either side as we walked this trail, which was perhaps the most treacherous trail I've ever walked on. It was all rocks and roots that were covered in mud and slime and slippery as hell. And the fact that nobody fell in our entire group was a miracle. And there's a tree, and I forgot the name, but there's a tree that is not an indigenous tree to Kauai, that is an invasive species that has a very, very shallow root system. And when there are a lot of storms or a lot of wind, these trees are very unstable. And one fell down 5 minutes ahead of us, right across the trail that we were walking on, and actually just kind of grazed a woman in the head. I mean, so, interesting piece of the puzzle. But with all this plant life, I had zero seasonal allergies. And let me tell you, I had like a little tin that I get mints in, or used to get mints in. I had a little tin filled with little tiny anti-allergy tablets. Never used a one. Got home, took a minute to get used to everything, but I really haven't had much in the way of allergy symptoms. Um, and I forgot why I was telling you the story. Haven't had much in the way of allergy systems, and maybe it'll come back to me. Anyway, so I've had to use my pills a couple of times, but I've really been using my CBD and quercetin and vitamin C, are what has helped me dramatically in alleviating all those symptoms. The CBD is just, it's amazing. It is literally is the miracle drug. And it's not a drug. I'm sorry. I hate to say, I hate it when I missay that. It is plant medicine. CBD is part of the hemp plant. The hemp plant is a nutritional plant. And CBD is a vital nutritional that your body requires. It requires CBD. We get it in little dribs and drabs from here, there, and everywhere. But the best source of it, in particular in this day and age, around trying to get back into our parasympathetic nervous system from our sympathetic nervous system, or from fight or flight into just kind of rest and digest. CBD, there is no better answer in the world than CBD for doing that. It can do it to you instantly. Also great for sleep, great for ailments, great for pain, great for, lots and lots and lots of stuff. And of course, you want to know more about CBD, I tell you all the time, get with me. Not only can I tell you all about it, but I can get you the best quality CBD you're going to find anywhere in the world. I was talking to, back to the books for 1 second. I'm a little scattered today. I think it's because I was rushing around to get ready, but I'm kind of off in a million directions. But the books, I want to tell you this about the books. It's not about how many books you can get through. It's about how many that you read get through to you. That's huge. And those 3 books that I just mentioned are the Science of Getting Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and the 4 Agreements, as well as the 4th book, Think and Grow Rich. Those are books that will get through to you. Doesn't matter when you get through them, but they will get through to you. Hi, Lisa. My beloved Lisa just joined us, and saying hi to Holly, who they haven't seen each other in ages. Anyway, I was talking to my prayer partner yesterday, and I think you've heard this before. We talk every Wednesday, and we were talking about where we are in the world and why are we questioning every single thing that we do? Why are we questioning our motivations? Why are we questioning our desire? Why are we questioning our movements? When in truth, what we really need to do is make the decisions that we're going to move in this direction, and then trust. Trust. It seems like the 21st century the hardest thing in the world to do is trust. Well, it's not the hardest because there's so many things that are hard to do in the 21st century. But trusting in the divine circuits, as Emerson said, get your bloating nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits. And your bloated nothingness is your ego. It's my ego. It's saying to myself, why am I doing this? Do I really want to go here? Do I really want to do this? Is this really what's best for my life? Make a decision and trust it. And use the scientific method. You make a decision. I'm going to do this. Then you predict that this is going to be good. And then you try it out, and it's not so good. So you come back with the information that, wow, my prediction did not work so well, and this is not the way I want to go. So what do you do next? Come up with a new hypothesis. It's what we can do in every aspect of our lives, in business, in philosophy, in our health, every single thing that in our lives, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, we can use the scientific method to decide our next direction, to decide what's best for us, to decide what is the most life-affirming thing we can do in any given moment. Because of what we really want to do is move forward and grow in our lives. Then we have to allow our thoughts to become our instructions, to become the things we want, the things we want to do, the things we expect, the things we're looking forward to. Because if we don't allow them to be the things that we desire, then what happens with all the questioning and negative thought is they become the things we don't want. Our thoughts can just as easily become what we really, 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 really don't want as they can become exactly what we do want. I've mentioned multiple times Peter McWilliams' great book. You can't afford the luxury of a negative thought. Old book, great book. We really can't. You have to learn. We all have to learn to just be focused on keeping our thoughts in the realm of the positive and the possible and expectancy. Expectancy to me is not expectation. Expectation is, you have a picture. This is what I want it to be. This is what I want it to look like. This is how it has to be. That's expectation. And that's a one-way ticket to disappointment. Expectancy is just simply knowing that everything that happens to me at its core is compassionate and good. Everything that occurs in my life. And I said, I misspoke there. I said happens to me because nothing happens to me. Everything that happens for me in this life is compassionate and good. And then trust in that. And trust in that. We are all capable of discerning what are good thoughts and not so good thoughts. And in that case, easy, right? Two roads diverged in a wood. Well, take the one that was positive. And trust that everything is going to work out for your highest and best interest. It's no simple trick to train yourself to be that way. But through daily spiritual practice, meditation, affirmations, prayer work, that's how we get ourselves tuned in to doing the mental work to try and affirm everything as a positive experience. And to see, and you know what a huge piece of that is? A big piece of that is learning to see the good in the not so great. That's always an interesting piece for me. Learning to see the good in what is, in the moment, what looks like suck. What's the good in that? What is this trying to teach me? What am I supposed to learn here? What am I supposed to do? What is my redirection supposed to look like? So that once again, I'm always moving in that direction of the next highest vision of me. The next highest vision of me. I always want to tell you guys, I want to make sure I keep repeating this over and over and over again. If there's anything you want me to talk about, anything on your mind that you want me to talk about, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, I don't care what it is. I don't care what the realm is. I'd be glad to. I'll talk about it. If it's something I need to research, I'll do that. I'll do whatever it takes to come up with the best information I can possibly get for you, without question or doubt. So please feel free and let's put those things up there. If you want to contact me, the best way to contact me, probably contact me directly, is right there. teamrocketnow@gmail.com. Just simply send me an email and I'll be glad to respond to you. I promise I will respond to everybody without question or without fail. Also, you can go to my beloved Lisa and my Facebook page. It's Vibrant Aging, and you'll certainly recognize us in the banner, so you won't have to look too far if there's more than one. But Vibrant Aging is our brand, and it goes hand in hand with this show, Vibrant Living, Vibrant Aging. They're one and the same. You can't have one without the other, as the old Frank Sinatra tune went. So that's where you can find me on Facebook. And back to the email address, teamrocketnow@gmail.com. I want to put this up here so I don't forget this. We are a nonprofit organization. Please, your donations mean everything to us. Go to newthoughtmedia.org. That's ntmedia.org. Click on donate. Whatever you got, we'll be thrilled and we'll be immensely grateful, and it will allow us to continue. We're trying to build on this platform. You know, we have prayer calls, we have visioning calls, we have interview shows, we have people like me just yapping away. I will have guests eventually. I wanted to master this scenario first, but I promise to bring you guests and bring you spectacular guests. The vision of this network is to expand and grow and be a voice for new thought, positive thinking, and growth all the time, and for the positive evolution of all of us on this planet. So ntmedia.org, click on donate and donate whatever your heart tells you to donate. I did want to jump back into the physical today. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the exercise thing. Now, it's those of you who pay attention and watch here know that I have been, since my teen years, a weightlifter. And trust me when I tell you, I'm not a bodybuilder. I lift weights for exercise. I like lifting weights. I'm from the no pain, no gain generation. I love doing that. I love pumping up the muscles. But let's be clear, I'm 70 years old. My days of pumping up the muscles are probably over. Although I'm continuing to build lean muscle on my body, because that is without question or doubt the most surefire way to forestall the aging process, is to continue to build muscle on your body. Now, I've always had my own equipment. I have a Nordic Track that I bought in 1991. That Nordic Track is 30 years old. It's really the original model, and it still works great. I have a Bowflex. I don't know what model that is. My second Bowflex, but it's 20 years old, and I have a bench and free weights, and I've been working out with that stuff forever. After recently getting that diagnosis that some of you heard about, where I have I'm experiencing some degeneration of the discs in my spine, I kind of went to looking for different stretches, different ways to create distance in my spine. On top of those of you who know I'm on top of lots and lots of meditative and prayer work on the rebuilding of the discs in my spine from the inside out. And in the process of looking for these new stretches and things, I found some interesting exercises that I stumbled on. I've talked about these before, and I really want to get this point across to you folks. If you are someone who is out of shape, if you're overweight, if you're someone who would love to get back in shape, would like to lose some weight, and you're all about the, we can't go to the gym because of COVID, and my schedule doesn't allow me. And as soon as I ever get to go to the gym, I'll get back in shape. And right away, you're living on someday I'll do this and someday I'll do that. And you ain't doing nothing. So what I found was these body weight exercises. And I flashed back all the way to being a high school student. I went to an all boys Catholic high school in New York City called Archbishop Malloy High School. Cost my father, I think, $450 a year. In 1969, 1965 is when I started. $400 a year, $450 a year for me to go to school. And he was concerned about that money. I'm not sure why, because my father made plenty of money even for someone with 9 kids. But I went to this school, and they did not have a lot of facilities. Gym class for us was your basic sports, basketball, baseball, little touch football in the yard on the concrete in the parking lot. We did a lot of calisthenics, and those were all body weight exercises. And our coach was a guy by the name of Coach Jack Curran, Curran. Look up Jack Curran on the internet sometime. He's really a famous high school coach in New York City, especially in the Catholic High School Athletic Association. He was a big deal, and he was our teacher in gym. He was the only coach. He coached the teams, and he coached us. We did jumping jacks. We did what were called squat thrusts. Now you would call them burpees. We did push-ups. We did sit-ups. We did, you name it, we did them. And they were great exercises, and they got you in shape. Jack LaLanne, who I watched every day when I got home from school, he made a career out of teaching people how to get in shape with no equipment. Well, you can do it. And I'm here to tell you, I've been doing this now for close to a month, I guess. I did it for the entire 2 weeks that we were in Kauai because I had no equipment. I did it out on the lanai. We had this 40-foot long lanai outside our bedroom. I would put out my yoga mat and I would do my exercises out there. But they are squats, 10 squats, 10 push-ups. I've gone to 15 on the push-ups, but it's 10 of each. 10 squats, 10 push-ups, 10 lunges, and that's left side, right side is 1. Left side, right side is 2. Okay, so 10 lunges. Then I've added 10 reverse lunges, where you step back instead of forward. I've added the one thing that I use equipment for is I use a band, and I hold the band this way, and I start up here, and I pull the band and stretch it across my chest and flex my shoulder blades back and come back up. I do 10 of those. And now the latest one is You can do this on the edge of your bed. If you have one of those, a Swiss ball, the exercise balls, if you have one of those, you can do it on this. That's what I'm using. You just lie across it, grab onto something out in front of you, put your legs, your feet together, and then engage your glutes and your abs and lift your feet up this way. So you're lying face down and you're lifting your feet up from the ground up. I don't touch the ground during 10 of those. And I repeat that cycle 3 times. I am just having incredible results. Incredible results. And I won't tell you how I'm gauging that, but it has to do with lifting weights and just being more capable simply because of doing this. More flexibility in my legs, more stamina in my legs. One of the biggest problems for people as they get older is loss of muscle tissue in the big muscles of your lower body, your glutes, your hamstrings, your quadriceps. As you lose that muscle tissue, you tend to lose your balance. The biggest cause of injury for people over whatever the hell age it is, 60 or so, is falling. So you want to build your core. You want it to be strong, and that's what these exercises do. The other thing is these exercises are what's known as compound exercises. Compound exercises are basically exercises that use multiple muscle groups. Right now, if you're working on your arms, you're doing the curls. Okay, if you're doing curls, you're pretty much working the biceps, a little bit of the triceps when you do regular straight curls, a little bit of your deltoids in the front here. But those are major muscle groups. When you do squats, you're using your calves, your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, your lower back. I raise my arms up with each one. So I'm also exercising my upper back and my shoulders. And that's a compound exercise. Compound exercises burn up what? Lots and lots and lots of calories, which really helps to maintain weight, even help you lose weight. So a thought for you there on the exercise regimen. It has been so big for me. It has made such a difference. And by the way, you will feel a certain bit of high intensity workout with that, because if you do the exercises, the lunges and the squats in particular, even the push-ups, if you do them with a modicum of speed, you're going to find yourself getting a little bit winded. So you'll get some aerobic or cardio benefit from that as well. Really cool. And I'm thrilled with it. So I guess that's pretty much what we've got here today. I'm got 5 minutes left in the show, and I don't have 5 minutes left anything to say to you, but maybe I'll just figure something out. Let me just have a look here. Something else. I wanted to. I'm not going to go into this. I'm not going to go into this. So we'll save this for another time. But the last piece I'll have for you is don't let good enough get in the way of being your best self. Don't get complacent. They always say don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Well, it works the other end too. Don't let mediocrity be the enemy of the good either. If you get satisfied with just mediocrity, with just being complacent, if you get satisfied there, life doesn't have any excitement. There's just going to be lots and lots of opportunity to say no to what's exciting, to say no to what's good, to say no what's going to bring you to so that you can blossom no matter what age you are. This trip to Hawaii was a blossoming for me. And Holly just asked a question. She has a medical issue going on. Remind me how to stay centered. Holly, the easiest way that I know of to be centered is really, really simple. To sit down, close your eyes, and take 3 really long, deep breaths in through your nose, out through your nose. And that will get you centered. The next thing after you do that is to be in a kind of a meditative state, if you will, where you use a mantra, use something like Om or Ah or love or word peace, whatever it is, and continue to focus on the movement of your breath in and out. I like to picture the breath as you inhale, picture the breath filling up the lungs, and then you have to oxygenate every cell of your body via that inhale. So picture that breath oxygenating every cell, swirling around in your entire body, and then exhaling the waste products of your body, which is part of the process. And the waste products can be any discomfort. The waste products can be um, any ailment, any infestation, if you will, bacteria, virus, that kind of thing. The other thing that I have done, my medical issue lately has been the experiencing of the degeneration of some discs in my back, and I have spent a lot of time every single morning in my meditation. I spend a lot of time focusing on how much I love those discs. And I love them as they are regenerating and rehydrating. Hydrating the disc is a huge piece of preventing the degeneration. But I love their regeneration and I love their rehydration. And I love that they are moving my spine into perfect alignment. There's this great story from years ago. Michael Beckwith had a woman who had a kidney issue. I think she was in kidney failure actually. And he had the congregation of the Agape International Ministry. He had them, the congregation themselves, focus on their own kidneys and love their own kidneys. And in loving their own kidneys, this woman's issue was healed, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Holly, I hope that helps. You said yes. I hope it helps. There's focusing our attention on the breath more often than not. Just literally takes our attention away from anything else that is not life affirming, not working with us, not just something that we feel is a challenge. When we focus on our breath, we can just kind of take ourselves into a different space, and of course the breath is 100% and always life affirming. So if you have that picture of it swirling around in your body and oxygenating every cell, that's how it works. Anyway, thank you for the question, Holly. I truly appreciate that. Hi, Cheryl. That's the end of the show here, folks. I am, as always, immensely grateful for the incredible gift of your time and your attention. I so appreciate you. I wish you all the love and all the blessings that the universe has to offer. And until the next time we come together, namaste.